Today we're speaking to award-winning screenwriter and book author Tina Field Howe. She won the prestigious Writers Lab Women Over 40s competition funded by Meryl Streep. In addition, she is an award-winning author. Before we begin her podcast today, I'd like to show you the trailers for two of her books. They're very brief, and I have put the links for those books in the description below. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Today, we're welcoming Tina Field Howe to our podcast. Tina got her start in stage, where she was an actor, and then she branched out later and went into writing, including short stories and novels, where she has won 2 awards for her sci-fi novels. And eventually, that led her into writing for both television and screenwriting, where she has won contests like the Writers Lab for Women Over 40. And she has had various recommend screenplays from Extreme Screenwriting. And she's even currently developing one of her screenplays that received a recommend into a cine novel. So we have a lot of exciting things to talk today with Tina about. So Tina, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Barb. It's nice to meet you face to face.
I know. Tina, I'm very familiar with Tina. I feel like I already know her from her wonderful stories. So, Tina, you have quite an extensive background, starting out with the stage, which is a wonderful background for screenwriting. Tell us a little bit about how you got started and how it led you to screenwriting.
Well, actually, back in the 80s, I tried screenwriting, but back then there weren't really very many resources at all. A couple books, you could purchase scripts, read the scripts, and try to learn from the scripts, but there weren't any courses,
Mhm.
except maybe in LA in the college system, university system.
Right.
So I tried it and didn't not do very well with it because I really didn't get it. And then I turned to novel writing.
Oh,
And that prose really works well for me. It works well for a lot of screenwriters. There's a lot of kind of hyphenate screenwriter slash authors.
yes.
And then lo and behold, after, several years and a couple novels and a children's picture book, I found online courses were coming on.
Right.
So Screenwriting U was the first one that I found, and I just glommed on, and I took practically every course that they offer, including their master's program, their master's certificate. And then I found others started coming on, Corey Mandel, and most recently Isabel Drian has this
Mhm.
great 21 Christmas writing screenplay course, which is really awesome. So now I'm doing a little of both. I actually just finished a mature comedy romance
Mm.
that is going to be published in paperback and online March, April timeframe. And then I'm also adapting one of my recommend scripts, which is a thriller, to a cine novel to build an audience.
Yeah.
And the thing I love about converting it, adapting it to a novel is that you have to add like double the amount of words.
Mhm.
So you can really get into a character's head, you can embellish the action, you
Mhm.
can do all the things you're not supposed to do in screenwriting, which is
Right.
embellish. so
Right. Right. Right.
so I'm having a ball. I've just started that process. I hope to have it done in the next couple of months and then have it online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because novels and screenplays are very different. The screenplay, it isn't that they're trying to destroy the novel and all that wonderful internal monologue, but the fact is it's different with the senses. You can only see and hear what the camera is experiencing. So that like wipes out like so much of what you get in a novel, the internal monologues, the feeling, the sensation, the sense, the what you can smell and what you can feel. And then you have to externalize it, you have to visualize it. And that is a
And
specialized skill, and it's not always easy to do. So,
yeah, and the thing about the novel, if you have both the screenplay and the novel, the actor, the director, people who are actually going to be creating the thing can get the internal and then play it out. The
right.
internal aspect of the characters much more easily than you can describe them in a screenplay.
Yeah, and adapting to cine novel is a special thing. It's a new thing that's out. Was actually kind of coined by one of our clients, and he began this whole kind of movement because building a audience is the biggest thing in terms of attracting a producer. Because as we know, for years, producers have bought best-selling novels and have bought the rights to them. And they didn't do that because they like were in love with the novel. Well, maybe they were, but it's because it came with an audience. So if you have
Yes.
a screenplay coming in with an audience, maybe it was based on a book or maybe on a sensation in YouTube or TikTok or something that has an audience attached, they are going to jump on you. In fact, there's been bidding wars over those screenplays. So one of the
Yeah.
things I recommend to my clients is to take somehow and build an audience. And Tina is using a very unique format called the Cine novel. So I know what it is, but Tina, tell our viewing audience how you're doing that and tell them about the Cine novel.
Well, screenplays follow a structure. So the structure that's in place in the screenplay is the same basic structure you can use in the novel. So what you're doing is literally I've copied and pasted from Final Draft my screenplay into Word, Microsoft Word, and I'm working on it in there. But of course, most novels are written in past tense. Screenplays are in present tense, the
Present
action,
tense.
all that, the
Right.
thoughts and all that. So what I did first was take it like scene by scene or chapter by chapter into Chat GPT and just had it convert the past tense to the present tense. And it saved me days from
Yes.
having to do that myself. Then I just simply put that into Word.
Now, Queen of Dystopia is the one that I recently gave a recommend to, and that's the one you're converting to the Cine novel. So tell us what's your logline. Tell us more about that project.
A successful novelist is kidnapped by her deranged, long-lost twin and forced to resurrect her iconic book's heroine while navigating a web of secrets, betrayal, and a deadly obsession. The genre is high-stakes psychological thriller. It's also, for the most part, contained on a rural farm setting. So most of it. So it's actually, and actually the antagonist and protagonist can be played by the same actress. Yeah. So for an actor, I think this would be really challenging and a lot of fun. But that's just my opinion.
Yes, they're doing a dual role. Right, they're
Dual
playing
role.
both sides. Yeah, they're playing two sides of the same coin there. So, now in your Cine novels, some screenwriters decide to put pictures in there. You don't have to. That's not required in a Cine novel. Are you adding any type of illustrations, or are you just doing the from changing it over to the past tense?
I hadn't thought about putting images in. I mean, if you're doing more of a graphic novel, I can see where that could be very cool. You could turn it
Yeah.
into a graphic novel, but I hadn't thought of that.
Well, the Cine novel might have a little few touches of it. And by the way, in case none of you if you guys didn't know, ChatGPT does images. You can actually take like a part of your Cine novel and ask it to convert it to an image. So maybe I would recommend just sprinkling 3, 4, 5 of them in there, like every maybe 30 pages or
Oh,
however long your Cine novel is going to be. If you want, it's optional. That's an optional thing that I've seen some writers do in the Cine novel, but it's not a mandatory type of thing.
that's interesting. I really hadn't thought of that.
Yeah,
And
just
it might be a
yeah,
good way to open each chapter because I do want to separate it into chapters,
right,
like like the major beats, of the screenplay.
right.
So that would be a great way to introduce the next one. What's going to happen and have an image. I like that. Thank you,
Yeah,
Bart.
you're welcome. And be sure to tell Chat GPT to put it in black and white so that it does it so it's better for the processing and how Amazon does it and what they charge you to print it and stuff like that. So and it looks better on
Correct.
the paper. So ask it to do a black and white for you.
Yeah.
Now, Tina, I know a lot of writers have a different process of writing, and I always ask this question. What is your process? Do you outline? Do you just go for it? I mean, what is your process for screenwriting?
I sleep on a lot of stuff. So I come up with the concept first and I sort of work on the concept. Then I figure out who's the best antagonist, protagonist,
Mhm.
and then supporting characters that I would need to carry the story and the characters forward. And then I do really extensive uh, backstories on each character, even the supporting character. And if it's a topic I'm not familiar with, and normally it is, there's somebody has a job or live in a certain area, and I do extensive research.
Mhm.
And it's not like I get hung up on the research. I use the research to get ideas, to generate ideas.
Sure.
Because especially if it's something I'm not familiar with, you're not just going to imagine that magically, usually, unless it's a fantasy, of course. But I do a lot of not that I use it all, not that I use it all. It just helps me get ideas. For example, if it's a certain time period, then I'll look up slang for a certain time period and be sure to incorporate some of that slang, some of the pop culture,
Mhm.
things that were going on then, what the actual culture was like, where the people are living for that time era, proprieties and things like that. And so I really, do a pretty good job until it feels ready to go to an outline. And
Right.
then I do beats. I use the mini movie method quite
Oh, yeah.
often,
Yeah,
which
that's a
is
good one.
8 beats. So it's like
8 beats.
8 acts.
Mhm.
And that works really, really well for plotting out your twists and your reversals and your
Right.
midpoint and all that. And then I do my first rough outline. What scenes do I need to make this happen from here to here, here to here?
Right.
And I know a lot of people just write, and that's fine, because you're always learning about your story. Even when I'm ready to, but the reason I do all this extensive background work is because that takes care of the heavy lifting for me.
Mhm.
I don't have to stop and look something up when I'm flow writing about, oh, well, what would he say here? And then once I get my outline, I'll go scene by scene. And I usually work a couple scenes ahead and I map out the scene, which I learned from Corey Mandel's classes about scene mapping.
Mhm.
And then again, you can take that and put it in final draft and flesh it out. And it's amazing how fast you can write a scene after doing all that upfront work.
Right.
And I love it. It works for me. Then I don't go back and edit.
Mhm.
If I think of something, which I always do, that I want to incorporate it, I just start a separate list in Word.
Oh,
And I
okay.
make a note of, oh, I should add this, look this up, do research on blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Then when I get my first draft done, which usually goes fairly, I can get a first draft done in 3 weeks, no
Mhm.
sweat. Then I'll go back and I'll look at what I have, look at what I've learned about my characters, about my story. Maybe came up with a whole different ending or a better midpoint. I'm always looking for the best solution, for the story. And then I just spend a lot of time rewriting. Then I get feedback.
Mhm.
First I usually exchange with a friend, a writer friend. I'll read theirs, they read mine. Then it comes to a point where I feel, okay, it's ready for Barb, to look at for me. And she never disappoints. She always gives me incredible feedback. I don't always get recommends the first time out, and that's fine because I'll use her feedback to help me improve it. And you can never know. You have to have other people look at your work
Yes.
because you know what you're trying to say. But if it's not coming through, you need to know those things so that you can fix it.
Right. You have the vision in your mind, but it's someone else seeing your vision. That's important. And I
Right.
really love your process where you write stuff on the side, then go back later, because it's really easy to get lost in that, where you suddenly think of something exciting and then you go off on this tangent. I can always spot those areas in a script where someone kind of went off the story because they didn't really blend it in with the story. So that's a very good process you have of like writing it down, then come back later instead of getting distracted and sidetracked with it. Another thing I think for the outlining, and I love that you use the 8 beats. That's lovely because it always assures you have about every 10 minutes something really exciting going on. It hits the midpoint. And outlining, I think the nice thing about outlining is that you're not going to get on page 90 and realize, oh, wow, this doesn't work.
Exactly. You don't
Yeah.
want to paint yourself into a corner. Yeah.
Okay, so another project I'd like to talk to you about that was a recommend because I think a lot of people this time of year don't think about it, but this is the time you want to be writing these kind of scripts, and that's your holiday scripts. Now, Tina
Yes.
has one that I recommended, actually two, but we'll talk about one of them today, called Mistletoe Magic.
Um, I took late last summer, I took Isabel Dran. She's a master of writing Christmas screenplays, the Hallmark style, more the Hallmark style movies. And she had a month-long program or 21-day program that I took from her, and I wrote my first draft during that program.
Wow.
So that's and I had written another one, but not a Hallmark style. It's a comedy last year. I have Kevin Hart in mind for that one. And anyway, so I wrote this in her program. And what the log line is, when an investigative podcaster sets out to debunk a viral video about magic mistletoe that foresees love matches, she must choose between getting her dream job and finding true love with the man behind this internet sensation.
Mhm.
So as often goes, she's a big city girl. She goes to this small town from where this video that's gone viral was made.
Mm.
And there's a myth that this mistletoe, and it's been around for 100 years or more, it makes matches. And so she's going to find out what's really going on, and she's going to debunk this hoax.
Right.
Well, as she's there, she learns that it's actually true.
Right.
And she ends up falling in love with the man who put the video out there.
It definitely has that Hallmark charm about it.
Well, for all of my projects, and I have several, I have a graphic design background and a not really marketing, but a business kind of background.
Okay.
So I've been creating my own lookbooks,
Oh,
uh,
cool.
posters, things like that.
The pitch decks, right, right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I very often, use like virtual pitch fest
Mhm.
to pitch my ideas, directly. I've done lots of screenwriting, not screenwriting, excuse me, stage 32
Mm.
pitches that they offer. Um, Sometimes I go to online pitch fests. I'm also networking in a lot more groups than I used to. So I'm in lots of filmmaking groups, not just for screenwriters, but industry groups.
Mhm.
And I'm meeting lots of people. And that's one thing you have to do.
Yes.
It's like to keep raising the bar for writers. Used to be
Yeah.
you have a great script, you send it in. Now
Yeah.
it's like you have to have all these bells and whistles to go along with your thing, and you have to just
Yep.
keep at it.
You have to
Meeting
have pitch
people.
decks. Yeah, you have to have pitch decks, a lookbook, one of those.
Yeah.
Text Bible doesn't cut it anymore. And that used to be required only for TV pilots. Now it's being required for screenplays as well. That's something
Yes.
they're looking for. And then I think eventually it's going to go to where it's going to be, where's your audience all the time. That's where it's heading in that direction.
Because there's so much competition now. There's so many people writing screenplays.
Yes.
I don't know how many thousands come into Hollywood alone every year.
So also the social proof, that audience is also going to show that you are above that fray. You're above the slush pile. You can't just hope that you're going to get an agent or manager because they're not going to take you until you have the deal. So at least in the beginning phases, you're going to have to focus on the marketing a little bit more. Okay, so in conclusion, Tina, was there anything you'd like to say to producers? You've given a beautiful presentation today, but I'm going to let you have the last word to the producers here. So.
I'm pretty tireless when it comes to writing and rewriting as well. And it's just something that I am very passionate about, is getting things made and working to make that happen in whatever capacity I need to.
Okay, thank you very much. And everyone, we thank Tina for her time today. We appreciate you being here. And
Thank
thank you
you,
very
Barb.
much. Until next time. And